I'm a private investigator. I've got some book that says Super Mayor. Inside I have from the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois.
Tiffany Henyard in court today over illegal appointments she allegedly made for several positions inside the...
Tiffany Henyard, once a rising political star in Illinois and self-styled as the super mayor of Dolton and Thornton Township Supervisor, has seen her career rapidly unravel due to a series of scandals. Among the most significant controversies is a rental dispute where landlord Janetta Hall, once an ally, claims Henyard and her boyfriend Kamal Woods owe $5,000 in back rent and late fees for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home they rented. Despite Henyard's nearly $300,000 annual income from her political roles and Woods' high-paying township position, Hall alleges the couple hasn't paid rent since August 2024. Furthermore, Hall reports extensive damage to the property, including broken fixtures and neglected maintenance, putting her financial stability at risk. This dispute is part of a larger pattern of financial mismanagement that has contributed to Henyard's swift and highly publicized fall from grace. Lavish spending has been a recurring issue for Tiffany Henyard, with critics pointing to taxpayer-funded trips, extravagant dining, and even a reported $40,000 Amazon shopping spree, all of which lack proper explanation or oversight. Allegations of financial mismanagement also include unpaid bills, missing financial reports, and claims that public funds were used for personal expenses. One particularly damaging incident involved Henyard charging thousands of dollars to township credit cards, including expenses for luxury hotels and upscale meals. These accusations have sparked widespread calls for accountability from both residents and political opponents, with many condemning her leadership as reckless and self-serving. Henyard's administration has been criticized for neglecting the needs of Dolton residents, and public meetings have often descended into chaos, marked by clashes between Henyard trustees, residents, and critics. Her combative style and fiery rhetoric have only intensified the controversy, as she frequently accuses her detractors of sabotage and conspiracy. The scandals, however, have extended beyond financial issues, with Henyard's confrontational public persona fueling growing discontent in the community. Tiffany Henyard's leadership has become increasingly polarizing, with her refusal to acknowledge or address criticism only further alienating residents. The controversies surrounding her have overshadowed the early promise she showed as a political figure, leaving many to question how someone once seen as a symbol of hope for her community has become one of Illinois' most embattled politicians. The accumulation of these scandals has fostered an atmosphere of distrust and frustration in Dolton, with residents who once supported Henyard now demanding greater transparency and accountability. Henyard's defiant stance in the face of growing criticism has only widened the divide between her and the community she was elected to serve. As her political career appears to be rapidly deteriorating, her ability to recover remains uncertain. What is undeniable, however, is that her tenure has become a cautionary tale of how unchecked ambition and alleged mismanagement can quickly unravel even the most promising political careers.
That she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now
landlord Janetta Hall and her supporters allege that Tiffany Henyard pressured Hall into renting her home to Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods. Initially, Hall intended to lease the property to another family, but Henyard reportedly intervened, insisting she needed the house. Feeling compelled, Hall reluctantly agreed to the arrangement, which quickly turned into a nightmare. Hall claims that the couple fell behind on payments and refused to accept a modest $200 rent increase, which was tied to rising property taxes. Shortly after, she says, Henyard and Woods stopped paying rent altogether. To make matters worse, Hall alleges they changed the locks and the garage code, effectively barring her from accessing her own property. Feeling betrayed and helpless, Hall filed a lawsuit in late September. However, attempts by Cook County sheriffs to serve Henyard at either her home or village hall have been unsuccessful, leaving Hall stuck in a frustrating legal limbo. She describes the situation as heartbreaking, especially because she had once supported Henyard's political campaigns. At some point, you have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you. Just pay your rent, Hall said, in a declining voice as she beckoned a friend across table. That is karma. Despite Janetta Hall's growing frustration, Tiffany Henyard has remained defiant, taking an aggressive stance against the eviction. Henyard has dismissed the legal process as invalid and threatened retaliation, declaring, "I will be suing everybody tomorrow." In a heated outburst captured on camera, Henyard repeatedly claimed that the eviction was illegal. These dramatic statements have come to symbolize Henyard's controversial leadership style, which often involves deflecting blame and reframing criticism as personal attacks. However, this time the stakes appear much higher. For Hall, the situation is deeply personal, not only as a landlord, but also as someone who once believed in Henyard's potential as a leader. For Henyard, the legal battle adds yet another layer to her growing list of scandals and controversies, further jeopardizing her already shaky political career. Whether Henyard's defiance can withstand the mounting pressure is uncertain. But for many observers, this latest episode marks another chapter in a long-running saga of postponed accountability.
There is a new legal battle brewing in Dalton between the mayor and some village trustees.
As Regina Waldrop explains, it has a lot to do with two meetings held early.
Tiffany Henyard has portrayed her recent loss at a local caucus as a deliberate attempt to block her re-election. Henyard claims that her opponent Harris manipulated the process by restricting access for her supporters while ensuring his own allies filled the venue, creating what she and her backers saw as an unfair and imbalanced situation. Her fiery rhetoric following the defeat, refusal to accept the result. "They can't beat me. If they could beat me, they would have," she declared indignantly, framing herself as the victim of a coordinated political attack. Despite her protests, the caucus outcome effectively ended her tenure as township supervisor, stripping her of one of the two influential positions she had held. For Henyard, the loss marks a major setback in her political career. Critics, however, view the caucus loss as a long overdue reckoning for a leader whose administration has been marred by scandals, allegations of financial mismanagement, and divisive tactics. To them, the defeat wasn't about political maneuvering, but a clear rejection of Henyard's leadership style and priorities by the community. Henyard and her supporters, on the other hand, have condemned the caucus process as illegitimate, framing it as part of a larger narrative of betrayal and conspiracy. The defeat, combined with her ongoing eviction battle, paints a picture of a leader increasingly under siege, struggling to retain her influence as multiple crises unfold. Once a dominant political figure, Henyard now finds herself fighting to preserve her legacy, with challenges to her authority mounting. For her critics, these events mark the beginning of the end of a controversial leadership era, while, for Henyard, they reinforce her belief that she remains the target of forces bent on undermining her.
If she wants to run for supervisor again, it will have to be as a write-in candidate.
Napoleon Harris and his team vehemently denied Tiffany Henyard's allegations of misconduct during the recent Thornton Township Democratic caucus, maintaining that all rules were followed and that the venue simply reached capacity due to early arrivals. An attorney representing Harris emphasized that the caucus rules had been made publicly available well in advance, a point that Henyard strongly contested. Despite her objections, the caucus proceeded quickly, lasting only 7 minutes and ending in a unanimous vote to remove Henyard as the Democratic nominee for township supervisor. Harris and his slate of candidates secured the nomination without opposition, effectively ending Henyard's re-election bid under the Democratic banner. The announcement of the results sparked a wave of celebration among Harris's supporters, with the room erupting in cheers. Some attendees even broke into the late 1960s anthem, "Na Na Hey Hey, Kiss Him Goodbye," turning the moment into a symbolic rejection of Henyard's leadership. For Henyard, the outcome marked a dramatic low point in her already tumultuous political career. Once a self-proclaimed supermayor holding dual roles as mayor of Dalton and township supervisor of Thornton, Tiffany Henyard now finds herself a deeply polarizing figure, plagued by allegations of financial mismanagement, misuse of public funds, and divisive leadership tactics. Her supporters condemned the caucus outcome as a coordinated effort to remove her, while her critics saw it as a long overdue reckoning for her controversial leadership. The scene highlighted the growing divisions within Thornton Township's political landscape and marked a significant decline in Henyard's political career. For Harris, the victory was more than just a procedural win. It reflected a rising desire for change among residents and party members who had grown disillusioned by the scandals surrounding Henyard's administration. The outcome was a turning point, not only in Henyard's political trajectory, but also for the future of Thornton Township. As the dust settled, Harris's victory symbolized the community's call for new leadership, while Henyard's dramatic fall from power marked the end of her once dominant role in local politics. The stage is now set for a new era in Thornton Township's governance, with Henyard's future uncertain amid a growing tide of opposition.
Embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is mounting a re-election bid. Henyard made the announcement in a post on her Facebook.
Unsurprisingly, Tiffany Henyard did not accept her defeat at the Thornton Township Democratic caucus quietly. The embattled leader stormed out of the venue in anger, vowing to sue everyone involved and forcefully claiming the process was rigged and illegal. "Napoleon," she shouted, directing her frustration at her political rival, State Senator Napoleon Harris, who also serves as the Thornton Township Democratic committeeman. Henyard's supporters shared her outrage, with one outspoken ally calling the caucus a fraud and accusing organizers of voter suppression. Henyard insisted the event had been deliberately orchestrated to sabotage her candidacy, pointing to last-minute rule changes she believed were intended to disqualify her slate. She specifically singled out the absence of a certified assessor on her ticket, alleging that this technicality was used as a pretext to undermine her campaign. However, Harris and his legal team rejected these accusations, maintaining that the caucus was conducted fairly and in compliance with Illinois law. They argued that the rules, including the certified assessor requirement, had been made publicly available well in advance, and that Henyard's disqualification resulted from her own team's failure to meet the established criteria. The caucus, lasting just 7 minutes, concluded with Harris and his slate being unanimously selected, signaling a dramatic shift in the political landscape of Thornton Township. While Henyard's critics hailed the outcome as a long overdue correction to her controversial leadership, her supporters condemned the process as a sham, highlighting the deep polarization Henyard has fostered during her tenure. Her dramatic exit, full of accusations and defiance, was a clear reflection of her combative leadership style, leaving observers divided. Some view her as a victim of political maneuvering, while others believe she is the architect of her own downfall. The fallout from the caucus highlights not only the tensions surrounding Henyard's administration, but also the broader challenges of governance in a community grappling with allegations of corruption, mismanagement, and fractured leadership. As the political battle continues to unfold in Thornton Township, it remains uncertain whether Henyard can recover from this latest setback or if it marks the beginning of the end for her tumultuous political career.
County Court has reversed some of Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's decisions. At last night's village board meeting, Henyard announced a 30-day temporary appointment.
Tiffany Henyard's growing list of controversies has been further magnified by the fallout from the recent Thornton Township Democratic caucus. Throughout her time as mayor of Dalton and township supervisor, Henyard has faced numerous scandals, including allegations of embezzlement, misuse of public funds, and lavish spending. One particularly damaging inquiry uncovered that Henyard spent $43,000 on Amazon in a single day, using a township credit card. Other investigations have revealed that she used public funds for first-class travel, fine dining, and even personal beauty treatments. Reports also allege that township-owned vehicles were used to transport Henyard and her associates to private events, including political fundraisers and shopping trips. Sources within the township claim that Henyard's office staff frequently handled personal tasks unrelated to government duties, such as organizing private events and managing her personal schedule. These revelations have sparked growing calls from residents for a deeper investigation into Henyard's actions, with critics accusing her of treating public funds as her own personal resources. At a tense village board meeting last night, Tiffany Henyard pushed for a 30-day temporary appointment, though some of her decisions were later overturned by the county court. Her critics, who have labeled her the worst mayor in America, point to her lavish spending and authoritarian leadership style as proof of her unfitness for office. Even former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, brought in as a special investigator to review Dalton's finances, found the situation troubling. Preliminary findings revealed that Dalton's general fund balance dropped from over $5 million in 2022 to just over $3 million by mid-2024. Meanwhile, an ongoing FBI investigation into Henyard's financial activities has already implicated several of her allies, including a former deputy police chief who was recently charged with bankruptcy fraud. Public opinion has turned sharply against Henyard, with many residents expressing outrage over her behavior. One commenter summed it up: "She didn't just misuse funds, she outright took tax money and lavished it on herself." Despite the mounting criticism, Henyard continues to present herself as the victim of political sabotage. Tiffany Henyard insists that her removal from the caucus and the mounting legal battles are part of a larger conspiracy to silence her. At a recent public meeting, she vowed to fight back, declaring, "I refuse to sit back and be silent against injustice." While some of her remaining supporters believe she could still run as a write-in candidate, her political future appears increasingly uncertain. Henyard currently holds 2 public payroll positions, but both are under threat due to ongoing lawsuits, investigations, and public controversies. Her mayoral seat in Dalton is also in jeopardy as she faces a tough re-election battle with growing opposition. For the residents of Dalton and Thornton Township, the stakes are high. Many are calling for new leadership, citing Henyard's controversial decisions and combative leadership style as reasons for change. As the challenges against her pile up, Henyard remains defiant. The question remains, will her refusal to back down save her political career, or will it only deepen her troubles? Is Tiffany Henyard truly a victim of political sabotage, or is she finally facing accountability for her actions? Her story is far from over, and the next chapter promises to be just as dramatic as the last.